Josh, the chapel looks like it's been built right into the rock.
You're right. We should take a look inside.
I wonder, how old do you think the chapel is?
I'm guessing the exterior's a couple of 100 years old, but the inside? Who knows? Some parts could be much older.
You think somehow this chapel might be connected to the face in the rock?
At a guess, I would say so. Hey, look! It's Pearl and Dwayne.
Come on, honey bun. Things ain't that bad.
You just don't understand. Today's been a disaster.
But
The monastery was closed. We got stuck in the cable car. And now this place is a building site.
aw, sweetie pie.
This was supposed to be the spiritual highlight of our trip, Dwayne. But the only spirit I see is that rotten turpentine over there.
Aw, heck.
Clearly, the Hendersons weren't having a great vacation. It was an old crank handle. It was a stone carving showing a kneeling figure. The wall here was made of bare rock. It looked like the chapel had been built right into it. A statue of the Madonna and Child watched over the chapel. There was a recess in the wall with a Latin word carved above it. Puritas, purity. I'd seen that word before somewhere. A modern plaster altar had been built against the rock. An empty, coffee-stained mug had been left by the altar. An old candelabra hung from the ceiling. Wood shavings. This was one building site that needed Mr. Tidy. They smelt exotic. My mother always said cleanliness is next to godliness. Potpourri, handmade, Grandma's favorite. I sprayed Brett onto my experimental potpourri. One sniff would kill a man for sure. The scaffolding was a little loose. Everything rattled. It made a surprisingly dulcet noise. It produced a dull sound when I rapped my knuckle against it. It produced a dull sound. It produced a dull sound. Great to see you again, Mr. Henderson.
Great to see you too, George. Great work back there with the cable car.
Is Pearl okay?
I wish. I'm afraid we're having one of those days where everything goes wrong.
Tell me about it. What have you been up to since we last met in Quaramonte?
Well, there was that little sideshow in Rome, but we can't talk about that. You know why, George.
I do? I do.
Why?
Top secret.
Need to know, Nico. Dwayne is, snoozer.
Don't you mean a sleeper?
No way, honey. A snoozer's at least 2 pay grades up from a sleeper. So I hear. Anyway, I don't believe I've had the pleasure, Miss,
Nicole Collar. Call me Nico.
Well, how's about that? So this is the beautiful Nico. No wonder you've been hiding her away from me, Georgie boy.
Gosh, no,
It's lovely to finally meet you too, Mr. Henderson. George has told me so much about you.
Oh, call me Dwayne, my dear. And let me assure you of one thing. Everything you've heard is quite possibly true.
Dwayne was loud, large, and short-sighted, but boy, was he a charmer. Is there anything we can do for Pearl?
I sure as hell hope so, George. She's been planning and researching this trip for years, our little pilgrimage. And Santa Cova Chapel here was the cherry on the cake. Not a thing she don't know about this place. Madonna, blah, blah, blah. Chapel built in, yada, yada, yada. She's Santa Cova's very own walking encyclopedia. Well, weeping encyclopedia, I should say.
So what brings you to Santa Cova?
Pearl's idea from the get-go. Ever since the unfortunate car accident back home, she's been scouring those pilgrimage brochures. Gotta be full of wonder and life-changing imagery. Got to have penance potential. Got to offer a real spiritual experience.
Well, I'm sure this place will be very spiritual once it's finished.
If the chapel is not what she expected, how about the monastery?
Hot dog, no. That place is for tourists, not pilgrims.
You said she expected a spiritual experience?
Well, that's what the brochure promised. Pilgrimages, little monk fellas, singing, shafts of light, the whole shebang.
Smells, bells, and heavenly lights.
Yeah, that's what the lady wanted. Oh, excuse me, Pearl needs me. There, dear.
Pearl could be a mine of information about the chapel if we could just cheer her up. Hi, Dwayne.
Hey, George.
How you holding up?
Me? Oh, I'm fine. Pearl, on the other hand.
How's Pearl doing?
She's pretty upset, George.
Well, maybe she just needs a hug.
Is that the best you got? The last time she was in a mood like this, I tried the old hug routine.
Didn't go well?
I still have the scars, not just the mental ones.
What can you tell me about Santa Cova?
Well, Pearl's the expert, not me. She knows everything there is to know about this chapel.
Did you see the Black Madonna?
Oh, you betcha. She's the little lady we came to see, though Pearl's in too much of a state to even look at her.
Hey, that tune you were whistling earlier, it sounded familiar.
Oh, it's Schubert's Ave Maria. In our courting days, me and Pearl used to hang out with the Campanology Society. It was Pearl's favorite. Oh, excuse me. Pearl needs me. There, dear.
I poured the turpentine into the paint can. The hammer produced a promising sound. An F sharp.
What are you up to?
Look, I made a Churchenspiel. G. B, if I wasn't mistaken. G. I'd missed a note. G. F sharp. G. B. That sounded like an A. G. I had it. It was the tune Dwayne was humming.
Georges, that's Ave Maria. Let me have a go.
Wow, you really nailed that, Nico.
Yep, this mop really is pretty special. Leave this to me.
I put the supercharged potpourri in the mug. I lit the scented shavings. A sweet aroma started to fill the room. I lit the candles on the candelabra. I rested the side mirror precariously on the candelabra. I secured the mirror in place with some yarn. The mirror was already secure enough. Now that was something. The light from the candelabra spilled over the Black Madonna like waves of spiritual goodness in candle form.
Pumpkin? Oh my!
What?
The sound of angels, the lights of heaven, the smell of piety, and
Yes?
the Madonna, I do believe. Tears. She's crying, Dwayne! The Madonna's crying. Father, son, little Timmy. Wrong side of the road. not my fault. The broken leg. Compensation claim. Forgive me, poor Tinny.
Oh, Pearl, my precious, you're such a sensitive soul.
Well, now that's done. I feel my soul's floating on air. We can get on with our pilgrimage, Dwayne.
Just another 1,000 clicks to go.
Pearl was back to her usual cheery self. Mrs. Henderson,
George, dear boy.
how you feeling?
Oh, just fine, thank you. I have just seen a miracle, George. It's all gonna be all right from now.
I'm sure it is, Mrs. Henderson. I'm sure it is. So, Pearl, what have you been up to since we last met?
Well, George, I've been on a journey.
Oh, really? Well, what kind of journey?
A spiritual one. A journey along the road to enlightenment.
Wow. And is that what brought you here?
It is. Though Santa Cova is but one step on that road.
What's so special about Santa Cova?
It's an ancient and very holy place. I've spent the last year researching it, and I can truly say there is nothing I do not know about it.
I don't suppose you'd know anything about that rock out there?
No, only that for 1,000 years, people have claimed to see a face in its shapes.
Still, keeping busy, Dwayne?
Like the man said, George, that old kaleidoscope keeps getting shaken, and the pieces are ever in flux.
Guess it's your job to pick 'em up, huh?
Well, somebody has to do it, compadre.
I enjoyed talking to Dwayne, but I was rarely any the wiser afterwards. What can you tell me about the statue?
I read that the Black Madonna has been here since the 9th century. She's called the Virgin of Montserrat. Some say the original was moved to the cathedral. But Dwayne and I know that's just a bluff, don't we, honey?
We sure do. This one is the real McCoy.
What can you tell me about Santa Cova?
Well, dear, they call it the Chapel of the Holy Grotto. It was built directly into the mountain itself in 1696. It survived the Napoleonic Wars, mudslides, Civil War. But the chapel is still standing today. It's a miracle.
Or a restoration.
What was that, dear?
Yes, a miracle. What do you make of this?
It looks like an Ouroboros.
Oh, you recognize it? Let me show you something else. Can you tell me anything about this painting?
Oh, nothing, dear. Apart from the obvious Gnostic connotations, of course.
What?
You know, the Dominicans. All those Gnostic saints. Doubting Thomas, Judas. And you see the woman in the red cloak? The infamous Mary Magdalene herself.
A lady in red.
That's enough now, Dwayne. You know my feelings about her.
Pearl knew her Gnostic onions, all right.
Then there's the Ouroboros, of course.
Something special about it?
Well, if I remember rightly, there was an Ouroboros right here in this chapel. Back in the 30s and 40s, the chapel was renovated. The workmen uncovered numerous symbols carved in the rock. Amongst them was a fine Ouroboros.
But that's amazing. So, where is it?
Oh, it's not there now.
Oh,
It was considered blasphemous, so they plastered over it. Sweetheart, I think it's time for us to go. The road to enlightenment waits for no woman.
'Tis the pilgrim's lot, George.
It was so nice to see you again. And meet your girlfriend.
We're not.
Take this radio, Nico. Never know when you might need it. Keep an eye on our boy George here.
Poor little lost lamb.
I'm not...
Don't worry, this little lamb's in safe hands. Bon voyage.
Bye-bye, dears.
See ya.
Nico, don't even start.
Little lamb?
Let's focus on the task in hand, shall we? Okay, this Ouroboros that Pearl mentioned,
You're right. We need to find it.
I hoped this was the right thing to do. Hey, Nico, I found the Ouroboros.
So what now?
Pearl was right. The plaster had covered an Ouroboros. I pushed the Ouroboros, but nothing happened. What was that noise? Ex igne puritas. Through fire, purity. I knew it. Another secret passageway.
Amazing, Charles. How did you do it?
Just another case of the old Stobart magic, I guess, Nico. It looks a little dark in there.
Are you scared, Charles?
Of course not. Just worried about you tripping, that's all. Whoa, this is one dark cave.
It's the door that worries me, George.
Well, I'm sure the door will open again if we give it a minute. No need to panic. Now we panic. Help! I gotta say, Nico, you're pretty calm about this.
Traveling with you, George, I've got used to this kind of thing. If I panicked every time a door shut behind us, probably forever, well...
You're right. What was I thinking? You see if you can get the door open, and I'll go check out the dark, evil-smelling cave. Fumbling around in the dark wasn't going to be fun. But heck, I'd spent a lifetime doing it, so what was new? The wall felt like it had something carved into it. For a moment, I imagined falling forever in the dark. But it was just my imagination running wild. The floor was solid. It felt cold and smooth, with some indentations along the surface. It was a small stuffed animal of some kind. short-haired. I guessed it was a tailless squirrel, or perhaps a small badger. It was a small, round object made of fabric with a musty smell. It was cold to the touch and felt like carved rock. It felt cold and smooth, like worn stone. The thing had branches like a tree. I could feel something smooth and spherical with clumps of what felt like fur or hair. I had no idea what might be lurking in the darkness. It was just my mind playing tricks in the dark. I threatened the imaginary thing with the hammer. I felt better instantly. There was one response I could rely on for things that go bump in the night: a hammer. I felt better instantly. I had defeated the imaginary hazards before me using only the power of my mind. Langham had better watch out. Hey, Nico, I think I found some light. Whoa!
It must be Ganon. Ramon said he disappeared while searching the mountains for the tabula.
So this is where he ended up, dead in a cave. Hole in the head dead. Decomposing for decades dead. And on closer inspection, I'd even say blown your own brains out dead.
Okay, George, I get the point. What is this place?
Who knows? But look at the Gnostic symbols.
You're right. The colors, the trees. But who is she?
It looks like the Virgin Mary, but I don't think it is.
What do you mean?
The red robes and that whole off-the-shoulder look? It must be Mary Magdalene, of course. Marquez told me that the Gnostics revered her. This place, it's some kind of Gnostic shrine.
There's got to be something to release that door. Maybe amongst these carvings.
But If it was that obvious, don't you think Gainan would have found it? Getting up close and personal to Gainan's leathery corpse wasn't pleasant, but we had to figure out how to get out of there. Gainan had certainly been busy before he blew his brains out. I wonder what he'd been up to. It was a fedora, just like the one in Gainan's trunk back at the Castell. The years hadn't been kind to it. I picked up the old gun. It was too corroded and rusty to ever be fired again. I prized the map out from under the arm of the corpse. It looked like Gainan had scrawled some kind of last testament onto this map. My friends, I know that you will eventually find me, but by then it will be too late. I have decoded the tabula, and I know our destiny lies in paradise. The key to the power of God is in our hands. I die secure in the knowledge that you will now be able to complete my work. Tell my family that I died doing my duty, that I surrender my life gladly to the cause. In the light of the day, these words will fade, like our souls. But rest assured that when they do, their echoes will guide us to where we will meet once again. I'm not sure, but it looks like crafty old Gainan left a secret message in his testament. The photograph was of an ancient clay tablet. Gainan had written on it. Someone, presumably Gainan, had taken the time to translate the inscription. At a glance, the inscription seemed to relate to the exploits of someone called the Sun King. If the translation is right, the symbol La-On represents the Sun King. If the rest of the translation is anything to go by, sounds like he was quite the badass in his time. Apparently, the symbol Ib-On-Shi meant 3 kingdoms. Shi translates as Mountain Kingdom. Gainan had marked this symbol with the letter B. If Gainan's translation is correct, the symbol La-Ha-Shi represents the Sun City region. Gainan had marked this symbol in red with the letter A. Du-A-Shi apparently means the Two River region. The symbol Ku-Is-I was translated as people, travel, look. Some kind of prehistoric tourists? It looks like Ku-U is the symbol for the tabula veritatis in this language. The symbol G-Ip-Ku meant ending enemy people. I'd guess that means poking people with pointy sticks rather than kissing and making up. If Gainan's translation is correct, the symbol Ka-Ip-Ha means burning enemy cities. Whoever this Sun King guy was, he certainly had a point to prove. Gainan had translated this symbol, Du-U, as 4 victories. If Gainan's translation is correct, the symbol La-Ji-Shi represents the Sunset Mountain. Sounds like a theme park ride. Gainan had translated this glyph, Ah-Shu, as Blood River. Doesn't sound like a vacation spot. The symbol Zhu-Ha was translated as the Young Cities. Gainan had marked this symbol with the letter E. If Gainan's translation is correct, the symbol Ip-Lu-Ap means enemy godhouse. Probably the temple of some rival deity. The symbol La-On-I meant the Sun King looked. Si-Ip-Ju was translated as the Gardens of Enemy Dead. According to Gainan's translation, this symbol is I-Ju-Lu, which means witnessing the start of Godhead. Nico,
What?
is this what I think it is? It must be the Tabula Veritatis.
So Genan did find it.
It's so small, so innocent looking. Why would Simeon call it evil? Why so many deaths for this?
And why go to such lengths to keep it hidden?
Unless it is as genuinely dangerous as Simeon claimed.
The question now is, what do we do with it?